أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. I think everybody here probably knows that what special season it is right now. That currently we're experiencing the greatest, the most epic community religious gathering that mankind has ever seen. And of course we know that is the pilgrimage which many people have made, going from the east to the west, all uniting in one location, in one holy area, in one holy city, in Mecca and some of the surrounding cities, and they have been performing the Hajj, which started a few days ago and continues as we speak. And the Hajj, this pilgrimage, we know many of the rituals which we do when we go to the Hajj are really, the essence of them is really about commemorating the struggle and the sacrifice and the success of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the great prophet, our patriarch, our father Ibrahim, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about his story at length in over 70 verses covering the various chapters in his life. Ibrahim alayhi salam, the one whom is revered and respected by not only Muslims but even friends of other faiths. All of the Abrahamic faiths really trace their roots back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, the man whom one time a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he wanted to greet him with, in an honored and dignified way. So he said that, "Oh, the best of mankind," speaking to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of his humility and out of his modesty, he said, "No, that is Ibrahim. He is the one who's the best of mankind." Ibrahim alayhi salam, the one whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of all the prophets that came before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of all the prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Prophet ﷺ that take Ibrahim as your example. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. That in Ibrahim there is a great role model, a great example to follow. The same way that we take Muhammad ﷺ as our example, the Prophet ﷺ himself was commanded to take Ibrahim as his example. This great man. So we want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam, of which if we look in depth, if we review it, there are so many countless lessons and reflections and ways in which we could benefit. But for the sake of time, we'll just touch upon some of the major milestones or the highlights of his story as it relates to the Hajj. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, we know that his story begins, he's in a society that is pagan society. They worship idols. They take some sticks and stones and they put them together and they take this small little thing as their God. This is the society that he came to. And we know that he strived and he struggled to stand up for the truth and to teach people, beginning with his father. His father was an idol worshiper. And beginning with him trying to give some dawah to him, trying to explain to him that this is really a bunch of foolishness. And Ibrahim alayhi with the utmost respect and kindness, he speaks with his father. In the Quran we find when he's debating his father, he uses Ya Abati, oh my father. And this is really the pinnacle of somehow you can call your father with utmost love and compassion. And of course he doesn't have much success with his father, and he goes to his larger people and he gives da'wah to them, and he tells them, it wouldn't make sense, would I take the stars as my Lord? Would I take the moon? Would I take the sun? All of these things, they disappear, and I don't like things which disappear, but rather I would worship the one who created all of those things, the creator of you and I. That is more worthy of me taking as my Lord, as my God. And again, to no avail, he doesn't find much success with his people, until he wants to go through an exercise which will make them think, and as the people of his town are going out for a festival, a party, then he goes and he breaks all of the idols that they have in their place of worship. All of the idols, except the one big one, right? Shatters them to pieces like Legos. And he puts that axe on the big idol. So when they come back, they'll think it's him. And the people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how the people, something inside of them clicked, and they had something inside of them that, oh, maybe this makes sense. He's got a good point. But shaitan came to them and they turned back against that idea, and they stayed in their ignorance. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, though, imagine one person in that society standing up for the truth. So many lessons that we can talk for hours about the bravery and the steadfastness and the perseverance and the courage of Ibrahim alayhi salam, standing up as one man. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him in the Quran that he's one ummah all by himself. All of us collectively, and all the other Muslims that we make up our ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he by himself is one ummah, because he was able to stand up for the truth when there was nobody else with him. And then of course he faces great difficulty after that. The people, they agree that let's throw him into this big fire. So they prepare this and they launch him into that fire. And on his way up, Jibreel alayhi salam comes and says to Ibrahim, you need any help? I'm here to assist you. Do you need anything from me? Ibrahim alayhi salam says, no. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. That indeed Allah is sufficient for me, and Allah is the best disposer of affairs. So he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will aid me. I only want help from him. And of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to his aid and commands that fire to be cool and peaceful on Ibrahim. Look at the patience in the face of great difficulty that Ibrahim has, the great trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ibrahim, of course, he survives that fire untouched, unscathed, and he walks out, and his people at that point, they're not going to let him live in that society in peace to worship the way he wants. He didn't have freedom of religion. And so, again, as we're going to have to jump through, fast forward a little bit in his story, in which we know that along the way he marries Sarah, he leaves that place. There's lots of other stories that I encourage everyone to go and review, especially during this time. The stories of the prophets are not just for kids, they're for all of us. They're even for the Prophet ﷺ, he benefited from them, and we too can benefit from reflecting upon those stories. So we encourage everyone to go and review in detail all the smaller stories on the side. But we'll fast forward to the point in which Ibrahim alayhi salam now has Hajar, his wife. He has a wife, Hajar, and for the longest time he didn't have kids. Couldn't produce with his first wife Sarah. 80 years old man, and no kids. And all of us desire to have, so the desire of humans is to have offspring. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finally, after so long, blesses him with Ismail. And now the command comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take your wife, take your child, Hajar and Ismail, bring them to this barren desert, which later would come to know as Mecca. Not really much there to live off of. Brings them there with whatever small provisions. Hajar understands that Ibrahim alayhi salam wouldn't just leave us here if it wasn't a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she asks him, is this what this is? Is this what's going on? And he confirms. And so Hajar now, she's a firm believer with full faith. She has trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That tawakkul that Ibrahim alayhi salam had now rubbed off on her. And now she realizes that, okay, if that's the case, we'll be fine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of us. But imagine the great test. Ibrahim a.s. has to walk away from this. The uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen to his family. Remember his son, after so long, he wanted a son and then finally blessed. Now he has to leave him seemingly on the outside, seemingly to die with no provision. Their food is going to, whatever small amounts they have, is going to run out. And so Hajar now is running back and forth between these two mountains of Safa and Marwa, looking for people, looking for maybe a caravan that's traveling that they can find some help from. Goes back and forth. And of course then, under the feet of Ismail alayhi salam, then comes the spring, the well of Zamzam, and which that brings them, some other people then find them, and they're able to live and to prosper, to make a long story short, and to make a life there. To make a life there, to make a good life. Test after test. Standing up, breaking the idols, having to stand up as one man by himself. The fire. So many other tests that we can't even cover. Then leaving his family in the middle of a desert. Another test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. That now Ibrahim a.s. sees in a dream he has to sacrifice his son. He has to sacrifice his son. And we know how the story goes. Ibrahim a.s. he goes in the most beautiful way. He handles the situation. He goes to Ismail and he says, this is what I have been commanded. What do you think I should do? And Ismail, being a great prophet himself, later on he would receive nubuwah. He says that if this is what you've been commanded, you should do as you've been commanded, and you'll find me amongst the patient, subhanAllah. And of course then he is making preparations, getting ready to, the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been made, and he's ready to submit. And Ibrahim a.s. is ready, and then shaitan comes. Shaitan comes to him and says, are you crazy? You sure you want to do this? It's your son. You're just going to kill him like that? You're just going to sacrifice him? Doesn't make sense. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want this from you? And Ibrahim then, he takes those small pebbles and he shoos away the shaitan. And this happens, he goes to another place and is making preparation, shaitan comes again. Another place, shaitan comes again. And each time, pebbles away the shaitan, get away from me. That this test is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that to show is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing Ibrahim, is your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greater than the love of this dunya and your most prized possession of this dunya, your son? And of course to Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was his first priority. So now he's ready. Shaitan is gone. And of course these two incidences, why when we go to Hajj, we make the Safa and Marwa, we do sa'i, going back and forth, walking with some pace, commemorating these experiences of Ibrahim a.s. and his family. Then now, why we go and we pebble the same way that Ibrahim a.s. did, commemorating this great triumph of Ibrahim a.s. passing this great test. So now he's ready, and of course as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends revelation when he's finally ready, that you have fulfilled your vision, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down a ram instead to be slaughtered. And again, this is another when we go to Hajj, we go and we sacrifice some animal for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only do the Hujjaj go and do this, but many of us here, maybe we went to yesterday, we went to a farm, maybe we sent money somewhere else to have it taken care of on our behalf. And we're continuing this legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then of course the final milestone of the story is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, after passing all of these tests, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he passed these tests with flying colors. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes him an imam, a leader for all of the Muslims. And he builds, then is commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to build the Kaaba with his son Ismail. And of course he builds it, and this is again commemorating. Everything is tied, as you can see, to the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We're at the Kaaba, beginning this. Ibrahim alayhi salam is the one who began this tradition, calling people then to come and make pilgrimage, to come and do tawaf. This is a tradition that dates back all the way to Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we continue this legacy until today. One beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that really highlights something about Ibrahim, we learn a little bit about Ibrahim alayhi salam, is whenever he was going on the journey to Isra wal Mi'raj. Right, we know maybe the story, he goes and he meets this prophet here and this prophet on this level. And there's an encounter with Ibrahim alayhi salam. And when he meets Ibrahim, he sees him resting his back against Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, which is essentially the equivalent or comparable to the Kaaba. Here we go, we make pilgrimage, we make tawaf around it. Similarly, in the heavens, the angels make tawaf around Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. And how fitting that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he built the Kaaba with his own hands, and now he's finding rest against that Bayt Al-Ma'mur. And Ibrahim calls Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says, Ya Muhammad, I want you to give salam. First he gives salam to the Prophet ﷺ, and he wants the Prophet ﷺ to relay that salam to all of his entire ummah, to all of us. Ibrahim alayhi salam has this request, and the Prophet ﷺ fulfills this request as we have this hadith. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he sent his peace, his salam on each and every one of us, subhanallah. And then Ibrahim, he gives them an advice for us, for his ummah. He says that, kind of strange, but Jannah, the ground of Jannah is very fertile. Very fertile. You can cultivate it and grow a lot of things. But it's also, there's not much there right now, it's barren. Nothing is planted yet. So Ibrahim alayhi salam tells him that, tell your ummah, that the seeds that we can all plant in al-Jannah for ourselves, for our abode in the hereafter, is our dhikr, is our subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Ibrahim alayhi salam is giving this beautiful advice for each and every one of us. How we can not only set ourselves up for a good future in the akhirah, but also come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seek closeness with Him and seek His pleasure. This was the advice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وبعد. SubhanAllah, if you look at all of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded from amongst us, from us, various things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, do this, don't do that. All of these commandments can be categorized into three subcategories, if you want to call them. And that is, the first one, it might be a qawl, a statement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say this. Another one might be an action, amal. Do this, don't do that. And the third one is something that requires monetary sacrifice. Monetary sacrifice, like the way we give, zakah. Have to sacrifice our wealth. So if you look at the 5 pillars of Islam, they really highlights this very well. So the first pillar of Islam that we learn in Sunday school, the foundation of our faith, is the shahada, the testimony of faith. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the one true God, and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. It's a statement. Second pillar of Islam, prayer, is an action. Establish prayer. Do something. It's engage in something. And then we have zakah, as I previously mentioned. It requires a monetary sacrifice. We're giving from our wealth. Then we have sawm, fourth. This is the same way as salah was an action, establish something, engage in something. Sawm is disengage. So it's an action. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, don't do something. Don't eat and drink. And Hajj is really the pinnacle of sacrifice. As Ibrahim alayhi salam, he sacrificed, test after test after test, he sacrificed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us for this sacrifice. And it really is the pinnacle of sacrifice for each and every one of us. Because it encompasses each and every one of these things. It encompasses a qawl. When we go there, we say, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. When we go there, we make tawaf. This is a statement. Then we have actions that we have to do. We have to go walk around the Kaaba in this direction, not that direction. We go throw this many stones, not that many stones. We go and we walk to this area. Things that we have to do, engaging in something. Then similarly, there's also an aspect of disengaging in something. When we wear the ihram, then we're in a state of purity. We can't get angry, we can't hurt, we can't harm someone, we can't clip our nails, and so on. Disengaging in something. And of course, the final one, it requires a significant amount of monetary sacrifice, subhanAllah. It's not easy to go, just buy a plane ticket, go to Saudi Arabia, make accommodations. We have to make accommodations there. We have to take off time for work. We're losing money in that regard. It's a sacrifice. It's all of those sacrifices put into one, subhanAllah. All of those sacrifices put into one. And why? Again, because it's honoring the great sacrifices of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam faced some of the greatest tests a man could ever face, subhanallah. And if we look at the Hajj, we can recognize really its great blessing on all of our lives. As Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed us with some great gifts. Some great gifts. That each and every day have a lot of stressors, work, school, family, whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established prayer for us as a means to motivate us and also be a means of, ease for us as well. So we have the prayer in our day. And if we make wudu and we pray, then it will be a reason for our forgiveness between this salah and the last one. Then we have our week. We have jum'a, where we all are today. The blessing of Friday. Again, it motivates us. It keeps us have that connection, that weekly connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We come one day to the masjid, listen to a reminder about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and come closer to Him. Makes things easy on us. It's a blessing for us. Then in the year, and again, same thing, forgiveness. From one Friday to the last is a reason for forgiveness for all the minor sins. Then we have in the year, we have the month of Ramadan. Something to look forward to, right? Every day we look forward to the salah, inshallah, we hope. Every day we look forward to Friday. Every year, what do we look forward to? The month of Ramadan. The blessing of Ramadan, right? We all come back, kind of come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, it motivates us, it makes it easy for us to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And along with that, there's other things. We have the last 10 nights of Ramadan, which is even more blessed than Ramadan. And we have the greatest day, which we just had 2 days ago, Yawm al-Arafah, the day of Arafah, right? The best day out of all the year. The best day is day of Arafah, something to look forward to. That these are things, if we take advantage of them, inshallah, come forward. Leave some space in the back for your brothers who come late. So in the year we have these Ramadan, the last 10 nights, we have the day of Arafah, something to look forward to. But what about our entire lives? The Hajj, brothers and sisters, is the pinnacle it's the highlight of our entire lives. That out of the whole entire life that we live, this is the time when we're going to feel such closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that inshallah we'll come out of it forgiven from our sins. This is the Hajj, brothers and sisters, and this is the pilgrimage that many of our brothers and sisters are engaging in now. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring them, those who have gone, to bring them back to their families safe and sound, and to give them an accepted Hajj in which they come back with their sins wiped out as though they were a newborn baby. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow that to be a reason for them to enter into paradise. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept those who passed away on their way and in the Hajj as martyrs, as shaheed, inshallah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for each and every one of us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't bless us the way that they were blessed to go on the pilgrimage. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to facilitate ease for each and every one of us to make that pilgrimage, to reach that milestone of our lives. That will be the greatest moment of our lives. We'll look back, inshallah, on our lives and say, that was a highlight. That was the best time. That was when I was closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, none of us are at Hajj though. People are there performing the Hajj. But what about for us? What are we supposed to do here? First and foremost, if we look at the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam, going back to the early story in which he broke those idols, he smashes them. We don't have idols like that. We can't go through that. We don't have idols the same way to smash. But we have a different kind of idols these days, right? And that an idol is something that you submit yourself to. And for us, our idols are our desires. Our idols may be our egos. And these are what we have to work towards, to struggle and strive to break those things. The same way that Ibrahim alayhi salam shattered those idols, we want to be able to break down our shortcomings and improve ourselves. And so the Hajj, brothers and sisters, for them, the people, the Hujjaj that are there, they're trying to live a few days 5, 6, 10 days, if you want to go back to the beginning of the Hijjah, they're trying to live their lives. Inshallah, come forward, brothers and sisters. There's lots of people outside, inshallah. It's hot outside. Please come, inshallah. Squeeze yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make room for us. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given us this opportunity, given them the opportunity rather, to go there. But what about us then? That we also can work and strive and struggle. They're over there trying to live their lives for a few days like Ibrahim alayhi salam lived, with ultimate sacrifice, putting it all on the line for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so us too, Ibrahim alayhi salam, it says in the Quran that he came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a qalb salim, with a sound heart. So us too, we can work towards purifying our hearts so that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah does bless us with that opportunity, we'll go to Him with a sound heart. So these are some of the things, the Hajj, although it may seem distant, and yes, we take part in the Eid, maybe we do the Udhiyah, but the pilgrimage is meant to be a purification for each and every one of the Hujjaj, but also for us, that we use this time to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reinvigorate ourselves, the same way that Ramadan. Think about Ramadan, how you come out reinvigorated and recharged. This is meant to be the same, inshallah. So we want to make that intention, that if we haven't had that blessing of going for the Hajj, then we make that intention. We try to make, some people, they make accommodations 10 years in advance. It's not as easy as it is for us to go to Hajj. For others, it's much more difficult. They make preparations well in advance, 10, 15 years in advance, to be able to go to perform the pilgrimage, to answer the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow this time to be a reminder for us to increase ourselves and come closer and to strive to reach the example and to follow the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and to follow the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow this time to be a blessing for us and our families, and a reason for us to be inshallah entered into paradise. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل عباد الله يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك يا مولانا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم وأقم الصلاة